This is Jovy Dedaj, who is the Vice President of Be Heard. Hello everyone. As Nick said, I'm Jovy Dedaj, and I am the Vice President of our political action committee called Be Heard. And before I begin, I'd like to thank Anthony Mele and his campaign staff, especially Lynn Teeger, for inviting me here today to speak before all of you. As Nick said, my name is Jovy Dedaj, and I'm the Vice President, with him as the President of Be Heard, which is our political action committee dedicated to informing and encouraging the young voters of New York State to participate in the very political process that is designed to represent them. Through our participation and involvement in fundraisers, conventions, and political functions like this one, we offer a real-life example of how young voters can affect change in their communities. Our motto inspires our members to be a voice, not an echo. It motivates them to be informed about local, state, and national politics and realize that despite their age or social status, our democracy is designed to nurture and respect each and every voice. Now, I didn't come up here to give you a quick pitch about our PAC. Rather, I'm here to tell you why we've thrown our full support behind Anthony Mele in his bid for the 17th District Congressional seat here in New York. Having started our summer by endorsing the campaigns of Nan Hayworth up in our neighboring 19th District and our former Congressman Joe Diaguardi in his bid for Senator Gillibrand's seat, Be Heard has added yet another candidate on its list of preferred representatives. And since my first conversation about Tony with Nick D'Angelo, we concentrated all our efforts on helping Tony get his message across to the voters of the 17th Congressional District. Currently, this district faces a lot of challenges in the future. This economic climate has affected every state and local community, and no one has been immune to the economic obstacles it has presented. Unfortunately, our current representatives have failed to do anything capable of mitigating the effects of this recession on our lives. We're facing a $1.4 trillion deficit, and yet our Congress continues to spend frivolously. Millions of jobs have been lost, and yet creating employment opportunities is not one of Congress's top priorities. And above all, our debt is growing at an alarming rate with no signs of fiscal austerity measures to prevent us from going bankrupt. You may think I'm beating a dead horse, but these are the facts, and they are scary. But rest assured that Anthony Mele is a candidate who believes in ushering in a new era of fiscal responsibility. He stands in stark contrast to Eliot Engel, whose voting record proves that he has no intentions of reining in the spending and refining our economic policies going forward. Make no mistake, the elections in November will be the most anticipated elections in decades. And candidates like Tony stand to benefit from the public outrage against incumbents like Eliot Engel, who demonstrate their legislative arrogance by voting for unpopular bills and supporting unpopular measures. All across the country, people are getting involved in their local races, and in their local races to help candidates with the right message to get elected. Your very attendance here today proves your commitment to a movement that has taken hold of the entire country. People are fed up with the status quo. They are angry with the current state of affairs, and they want to see change, real change. And clearly that real change begins with electing candidates like Anthony Mele to Congress. But if you ask me why our PAC feels so strongly about getting Tony elected to Congress, we would just tell you to look at his track record. He has proven himself to be a leader throughout various management responsibilities throughout the U.S. and throughout the world. His knowledge about international trade and the global economy proves that he is ready to tackle the economic challenges facing our country. Furthermore, his unique experience with counterterrorism efforts at the Departments of State and Defense indicates his incomparable knowledge and expertise in national security policy. Clearly, Tony has the know-how to keep America safe and put her back on the right financial path. I guess you could say I'm a Republican because of my grandfather. As an immigrant to this country, having escaped the grips of an oppressive communist regime with the hope of starting a new life, he came here with nothing. But through hard work and determination, he built up his small real estate investments into a profitable and successful business. And as soon as he had the money, he began donating to various Republican candidates here in New York and to the Republican National Committee itself, because he believed in the Republican platform of fiscal conservatism and individual liberty. The events of his time provoked him to become an active citizen. And the problems America faces now were just as serious as they were back in the 80s, if not worse. With a stagnant economy and the looming threat of the Soviet Union, America was at one of its worst crossroads yet. However, the Republican message of fiscal prudence and strength in the face of the Soviet threat carried us through a difficult time. Today, unfortunately, we're facing an even bleaker economy, and the constant threats to our national security from terrorism are as great, if not greater, than back then. I know that if my grandfather were alive, he'd support Tony, and maybe Tony could even get a nice check from him. But what I'm saying is that the Republican message hasn't changed much since then. Fiscal responsibility and limited government are the basic principles of our democracy, and they've been tarnished by unnecessary deficit spending and ineffective bureaucracy. Thankfully, Tony is one of those candidates ready to make sure that the very principles are taken into consideration every time he votes to spend another taxpayer's dollar. And so, like our motto states, Tony will be a voice in Congress fighting for his constituents on the important issues, not just another echo lost in the partisanship and bickering of a legislative body that has lost its direction. They say that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single footstep. Well, the road to greater financial responsibility and economic prosperity begins with electing the people who really believe in what they preach. And for us, that person is Tony Mele. Thank you.